Protesters blocking the entrance to Auckland's Owairaka Mount Albert vow to stay there around the clock to prevent about 300 exotic trees being felled around the summit. Helicopters and heavy machinery are set to be used to cut down trees, including eucalyptus and pine, as part of a plan to regenerate natives. The Tūpuna Maunga Authority has Auckland Council's permission to fell the exotics and plant thousands of natives on the Maunga. But protesters would rather see the exotic trees removed over time, allowing native saplings to grow. Amy Williams reports.
Richie Afford has spent much of his life visiting Owairaka Mount Albert. The 96-year-old lives nearby and recalls visiting the Maunga when he was a child, enjoying picnics with his family on the summit. He says he wants the exotic trees to stay put.
Well, I'm just concerned generally that with the welfare of the mountain and the birds and the trees that have been planted by people, and the cherry trees especially, and I'd like to see them saved.
Mr Afford's relieved a native kahikatea he secretly planted on the mountain decades ago will not be cut down. Local resident David Longland says he'd prefer the trees are removed over a decade rather than in one foul swoop. He's among protesters on a rotating roster to block the entrance this week.
I'm going to be here every morning for as long as it takes, and I'll be up here in the middle of the night if I have to be. So, yeah, I'm here for the long haul.
Beth Wood has lived in Mount Albert for almost all of her 84 years and joined the protest to save the trees.
It's always been a special place. I've lived all my life, except for about 3 or 4 years in Mount Albert. My father was mayor for over 12 years after Andy Anderson. My husband was on the council for 27 years before his death, and it is his birthday today on the 11th of the 11th. So that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Honour the Maunga member and Mount Albert resident Anna Radford was at the summit early this morning leading the protest. She supports native plantings on the Maunga but does not want over 300 trees removed at once. Ms Radford says the group will support other communities whose Maunga faced a similar haircut.
We'll definitely be supporting other communities that have got it coming their way. We're hoping to stop this madness. Exotics aren't evil. They have a really crucial role to play in supporting birds and wildlife.
The Tūpuna Maunga Authority says the felling of exotics will not clear the summit of trees and is part of a wider restoration program for the city's 14 Maunga. Its chair, Paul Majuri, says there have been 3 stages of public consultation over the past 3 years, with the latest round just a few months ago to get feedback on the Tūpuna Maunga Authority Integrated Management Plan strategies. He says ecologists, arborists, archaeologists and noise and traffic experts are among experts who provided information for an application to remove the trees at Owairaka, which was approved and is available for public viewing.
It's been the subject of expert assessment in terms of potential effects. So I'm aware of some of the public commentary around harm to bird species and the like. Those are the subject of some very detailed conditions and resource consent, and also relevant that we have support for this particular project from both the Tree Council and Forest and Bird.
Mr Majuri says cutting down the exotic trees all at once will leave a lighter footprint.
Deferring and delaying the program is only going to increase the potential for effects. So again, that's been the subject of assessment in terms of expert reports, decision by the Council in terms of appropriate conditions, and the upshot of that is we have a resource consent and a program which repeats the experience we've had on other Maunga, which has gone very successfully.
Despite the public consultation, Eden Albert local board member Rachel Langton says she only became aware of plans to fell the exotics all at once 2 weeks ago.
I certainly didn't get the impression it was going to happen so drastically overnight. I thought it was going to be a long-term transitional process, protecting the birds and the trees and the Maunga.
Heavy equipment being used to cut down the trees isn't due to arrive on the Maunga until next week, but protesters say they have no plans to leave and will be there as long as it takes to save them. For Checkpoint, Amy Williams.